It's 10 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is a regular.
It's 10 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order.
Monday.
This is a regular Commissioners Court meeting of the Starr, Monday, April 22nd. Let the record show that we do have a quorum, everyone being present.
Hope you all had a
Thank you all
happy
for
Easter.
Easter.
Everyone, please stand.
Please stand.
Item is the claims.
First item is the claims.
Moved and second to approve. Discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Moved and second to approve, discussion.
Motion carries.
All in favor, please, aye. Opposed?
Next item is to approve the
Motion
vendors
carries.
list.
Next item is to approve the vendors list.
Approve. Discussion.
Motion to approve, Your Honor.
All in favor,
Moved and
please,
second
aye.
to approve,
Opposed.
discussion.
Motion carries. Next
All in
item
favor,
is
please,
the
aye.
burn ban.
Opposed?
It's that time
Motion
again.
carries. Next item is the burn ban.
Act on the burn ban
It's
if you all
that
want
time
it.
again,
It has been kind of-
when we need to act on the burn ban if y'all want it.
It's kind of green also, so.
It has been kind of,
The one that
the
burn
winds
ban?
have been,
The burn ban.
Okay,
but it's kind of green also.
I also move.
Whatever you-
Moved and second
The
to
burn
approve.
ban.
Discussion.
Continue, Judge.
All in favor, please, aye.
Moved and second to approve, discussion.
Motion.
All in favor, please, aye.
Item 6 is an
Motion.
action item.
Carries.
This is a loan.
Item 6 is an action item, and this is a loan from general fund to pay PO 114873 in the amount of $35,786.70. And this is for payment number 1
An advance that will get reimbursed.
on the CDBG
Correct, sir.
contract
It
paving.
takes
This
about
is
7 to 10 days
an advance
to
that will
get
get
reimbursed.
reimbursed.
It is payment number 1, and we had some issues, and that way we had hold on the payment.
I also move, Your Honor, but ma'am, have you checked with that gentleman out there that's in charge of those, paying those draws? Where are we at?
With TDA,
Yeah.
it takes about 7 to 10 days. I sent it on Thursday of last week.
Okay.
So it takes about 7 to 10 days. We haven't had any problems before. We've already requested one, and we got it in about 5 days. So I'm anticipating, más o menos, about 5 days.
Motion and second to approve. Second motion. Discussion. All in favor, please, aye.
Motion and second to approve, discussion.
Motion carries. Item 7.
All in favor, please, aye. Opposed?
Depository contract.
Motion carries. Item 7 is the item of
Good
the
morning,
depository
Judge and
contract.
Commissioners.
An extension for 2
The
years.
recommendation is to approve the depository contract extension for 2 years with Lone Star National Bank. Presented. Motion to approve.
Moved and second to approve. Discussion.
Motion to approve.
All in favor, please, aye.
Moved and second to approve, discussion.
Motion carries.
All in favor, please, aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Let the record show that I didn't participate or vote on that.
Proclamation.
Item number 8 is a proclamation. Okay, okay.
Judge and Commissioners, I have this proclamation, and I have one member besides myself of the Board of the Soil and Water Conservation District present, Mr. Tomás Hernan. And I have also the Secretary, Amy Bush, and then I also have someone representing the NRCS office. So I'm going to read you the proclamation. This proclamation is Soil and Water Stewardship Week proclamation. Whereas fertile soil and clean water provide us with our daily sustenance, and whereas effective conservation practices have helped provide us rich standard of living, and whereas our security depends upon healthy soil and clean water, and whereas stewardship calls for each person to help conserve these precious resources. Therefore, I hereby proclaim April 28th to May 5th, 2019, Soil and Water Stewardship Week. Judge Eloy Vera.
Moved and seconded to approve. Discussion. Under discussion, I want to thank you all for joining us this morning.
Second to approve.
Discussion.
Under discussion, I want to thank you all for joining us this morning, and also thank you all for the work that you all do for ranchers and farmers and the community as a whole.
Sure.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Let me just call for the vote. All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
You all want to stay?
You all want to stand? Buenos días. Hope you're doing well. Or you want someone to take a picture so she can be in? Romeo? Or Mandina either? No la va a quebrar.
Ya no va a salir bien. Ayúdale, Humberto.
Eso es LED. Luego confianza. Mira, qué netito, ni qué netito.
Sí. Algo le aprendí a Sammy, ¿no?
Yo no le entiendo. Nunca.
Next item is item number 9, and this is a resolution in support of an application for the National Incident-Based Management System grant number 3688-101. Chief, I don't know what that.
Judge, Commissioners, good morning.
Good morning.
This is a grant that we're applying for you to replace our software there at the Sheriff's Office. It's how the information will get reported.
I move that we approve the resolution, Your Honor.
Moved and second to approve. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's in the amount of how much, Chief?
I believe it's 120,000
120.
with, there's no match to that.
Excellent. On item number 10, it's also an action item, and this is another resolution, and this is for the Border Interdiction Unit Grant 3673002.
That's just a grant that we usually get every year, and we have an officer that's assigned to that grant.
Second motion, Your Honor.
Moved and second to approve. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. 11 is an action item, and this is to approve another resolution for crime, for the victim coordinator and liaison grant from our DA, grant number 22,466.
I move that we approve the resolution, Your Honor.
Second, Your Honor.
Moved and second to approve. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 12 is an action item, and this is to approve a request from Commissioner Alvarez to sell surplus vehicles at bond and bond auctioneers.
I move that we approve, Your Honor. Second.
Moved and second to approve. Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, also an action item, 13 and 14, these are from our delinquent attorneys. Item 13 is to approve a tax resale on some properties.
Good morning, Judge,
Good morning.
Commissioners. Just for the record, Michael Cano with Linebarger. As you know, as part of the process that we use to collect taxes, we actually have to do some foreclosures. But I just want to let you all know that we've been very blessed that we haven't had to foreclose on actual homesteads. I don't want you to believe that we're displacing families from their homes. And the foreclosure process is actually very beneficial many times to clean up a lot of these older abandoned properties and these eyesores that you have within the county. So this past December, we put up for sale 20 different properties that we had previously foreclosed on. And the reason this is very important is because once we actually foreclose on it, and if it doesn't sell, we don't get the minimum bid, you all become the owners of that property along with, the school district and the city if it's within a city. And from that time forward, not only have you not collected your taxes, it's no longer on the tax roll, so it's not being taxed. So not only do you have an eyesore type of property, you haven't collected taxes, and now you're not charging them any more taxes. So these are the kind of properties we have put up for resale. We put up 20, we sold 10 of them here at a public, auction here at the courthouse, and that's what you have before you. It brings in about $25,000 just to the county. If you look through the packet, every one of those properties, Judge, is a non-homestead property. They're either empty lots or abandoned homes. So this is a really good process to try to clean up the community more than anything else. Get some money back for the county, and we write off the balance of the taxes, and more importantly, we put these properties back in the private, person's hands and let them start paying the taxes on a yearly basis, hopefully on time. And more importantly, they obviously clean up the property at their cost, and the county doesn't have to go out there and maintain it. So that's what you have in that packet.
I did look through the packet, Mr. Cano, and some of the abandoned homes sold, I think, at a very fair amount. There was a couple that I thought might have been able to get a little more, but like you said, this have been on the selling block for a couple of times, and I guess no one's biting. But
we do our best, Judge, to advertise in the local paper. We advertise online. Within this year, we're going to start migrating all our tax sales online, and the bidding will be done online. And it's not going to be necessarily like eBay, but it gives people more important. You don't have to physically be here, and I think that's been hampering our sales here in this county. Is a lot of the people that buy these tax sale properties come from out of the county. A lot of them actually come from out of state. So hopefully, by putting them online, we can get other investors, real estate companies from out of the county to invest in here. And
when you say online, on that particular day that they sell, it'll be online, or?
It would be online for usually a 2-week period before the actual closing date. So you have 2 weeks to look at the property. We'll have all the photos online, and that gives people here, if you're from here, you can look online and then physically drive out to the location, look at it, inspect it, to the best that you can, because if someone's living there or if it's gated, you can't get in. But you get to look at it, and then you submit your bid before it closes.
Sure.
On that time. And
I think that'd be a very good
Yeah.
thing.
Sure.
These properties that are being sold, you're not giving it a clear title. If they got some other liens pending on the property from somewhere else, it goes to the buyer too.
For the most part, Commissioner, you're right. Because we have a tax lien, it pretty much extinguishes most other liens that are inferior to a tax lien. There is some superior tax liens, like a federal tax lien or a state tax lien. Most of these are not going to have that. Even if there's a local mowing lien by a city or something like that, it gets extinguished through here. It doesn't get extinguished, but that has to be collected separately. It doesn't run with the land. We do sell it as is, so if there's any other, we don't make any representations that we're selling it free and clear. We're not making any representations as to the condition of the property.
Yeah, but, yes, I understand that, because I've heard that they have run into that kind of problem. How about the clear title on the property? It doesn't give a clear title right.
For the most part, it does, Commissioner. That always depends on the title company. The title company, whoever's going to issue the policy, they have to be comfortable with it. But for the most part, we do these all over the state, and we do them by the hundreds in Hidalgo County every month. They do get a sheriff's deed, and that is good enough for most title companies. There's a few title companies that aren't comfortable with it, but I would say like 95% of the title companies are okay with a sheriff's deed, and they actually do the research to make sure that the sale was done properly before they actually issue that title policy, because it obviously, it's their money on the line if something goes wrong. But they shouldn't have a problem with the title. That's really not the case. They may have a problem with the property, but again, we sell it as is. We don't make any representations that it's not going to flood and that kind of stuff.
So then the two superior liens, is a federal and state?
That's correct.
That's it?
Those are the only
Pretty
two liens
much.
out there for the most part.
The banks, the,
If it's a purchase money lien, it can also be superior lien, but it's very rare that we see those, Judge, because if it's, purchase money means like a mortgage company. If they lend you the money to purchase that property, and so that's usually the case for homesteads, people are living there paying a mortgage. So that lien would not get extinguished, it would stay
okay,
with it.
but don't, let's say a bank has a lien on the property because they loan the money to buy it. You notify them also.
We do as a lien holder, once we file the lawsuit, we notify them as lien holders.
Okay, so if they don't do anything about it, then they lose it?
They lose it. They lose their collateral. And that's why we notify them. And so if it's, let's just say a current residence or someone, it's a commercial property and there's a loan on it and Lone Star National Bank is owed $100,000, for the most part, they'll come in and pay the taxes once we file the lawsuit because they don't want to lose their collateral.
Sure.
That's why it's very rare that we see purchase money, liens on property because for the most part, they'll pay it off. They'll pay off the taxes to keep their collateral.
Correct.
So, again, I know it sounds, no one ever likes to hear the word foreclosure, but these are actually very beneficial foreclosures. So, again, it puts money, in the county's pocket, and then more importantly, in my opinion, is let's get rid of these properties, make them someone else's responsibilities.
Put them on the
and let's
tax roll.
start putting them back on the tax rolls.
Any other question, comment? Is there a motion? Have all the other entities approved this?
And I'm
or-
glad you're asking me that because I want to talk a little bit about something we're going to do here differently. I've gotten the approval of the city of Rio Grande. I will be going to the school tomorrow. Roma ISD has approved it, and the city, because all these fall in different,
Right.
areas. So the process, and that's why it takes us several months. Once we conduct the sale, we have to collect the money. We hold that money in escrow. Then we got to go get the approval of the county, the cities, the school district, South Texas College, también. We get everyone's approval. And that process takes 3 or 4 months. And the problem with that is if you're an investor, you've deposited your $5,000, $10,000 with us, you go through 3 or 4 months waiting, and if someone along that line says no, then the whole deal is off. And so then we have to refund the money. It's a lot of work, and the investors don't like that process. It's a very slow process. So in Hidalgo County last year, we started using a new process that's allowed under the tax code, that we basically come to the county, and we're gonna have you approve the sales in advance, usually 2 to 3 months in advance. So before we actually conduct the sale, I'll present you with a list, say, these are the ones we'd like to sell. You pass a resolution, I take that resolution, once it's been passed and out of courtesy, we'll send it to the city of Roma, Rio Grande, and everybody else that's within that jurisdiction, and say, hey, the county's gonna sell these properties. If for any reason you want us to pull it, let us know, we'll pull the property, otherwise it's gonna be sold. And once we get your pre-approval, the day it sells, the bidders have to pay by the end of that day, they get their deed the very next day. So once we started that process, kind of like a pilot program in Hidalgo County, we've been using it for the past year, and it's done wonderful for us because it's faster. The investors get their deeds faster. They can start building or clearing the land, and we've seen the amount of money we're getting at the resales go up because of that. So hopefully, the next time I come, we won't be getting your approval after the fact. I'd like to come get your approval before, and if for any reason the county says, hey, you know what, pull this one out, we want to buy this one. A city may say, sabes que, pull this one out because we want to build a park here, then we'll pull those out. But I think if we get ahead of the game instead of behind the game, we can move it faster and increase the
How
amount of
would we
money.
know how much you're gonna sell for them?
That we don't know. It's kind of like this, is you put it out there, it's a resale property.
Okay, so if we approve beforehand the sale of property A, and we're expecting it to bring in $10,000 and it brings in $500, well, we're not gonna wanna sell it.
You can put conditions on it, and that's what we do is once we present you with the list, what I'll do is I'll give you, based on historical data, what we think it can bring in, a minimum. Say, look, this property is on the tax roll, and again, the tax roll values may not always be accurate, but let's say it's on the tax roll for $50,000, and we know that, we couldn't get a $20,000 bid last time. Then maybe we'll say, hey, look, the minimum bid being $10,000. So you can pre-authorize a sale if the bid is over 10. So when I bring you that list, I'll bring you the proposed minimum bids, and if you all feel like, one needs to be increased, then we can certainly do that.
The other question that I had is on the investors. It was my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the investors or the buyers of these properties or better yet, the people that were foreclosed on have 2 years that they can come back and buy their property back.
It's 2 years, Judge, if it's their actual homestead residence.
Okay,
But
only
again, we don't
homesteads.
sell homesteads, you know, thankfully, we haven't had to.
Okay, but raw property,
6 months.
6 months.
It's 6 months. Now, it's 6 months, they have 6 months from the time it gets struck off. So a lot of these properties, if you look at the date that it was actually, the sheriff's
Right.
deed was recorded, some of these go back 7 or 8 years that they've been off the tax rolls.
Mhm.
So in those cases, there is no right of redemption. It's been past 6 months.
Okay.
Now, under the new process, getting the commission's advanced approval, the code only allows it if the 6-month right of redemption has expired. So we wait, you know, make sure that it's been struck off for 6 months, and then we'll bring it to, I'll make sure that we do it the right way, but,
Okay.
yeah, by the time it comes to you, I want you to know that there's no more right of redemption. No one can come and redeem the property.
Okay.
It's a foregone conclusion.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
No, motion to approve. Yeah, second, Your Honor.
Moved and second to approve the sales or the resales. Discussion, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 14 is a report for period October 1st, 18th through February 28th, 19.
Again, just for the record, Judge Michael Cano Linebarger, I'm going to try to be as brief as possible because I don't want to take up your all's time this morning. Just to let you know, for the past 5 months, the first 5 months of the fiscal year, you should have our numbers in your packet. We always benchmark to the prior year, and I was worried at the very beginning of this year because we had 2 things going on. One, we had a really good year last year. We pushed really hard, and we out-collected what we had the prior year by a whole lot last year. So anytime you have that, it's always going to be harder the next year to outdo that year. And then 2, there was some big litigation that you may have heard of. There was an oil and gas company that filed a lawsuit across the state of Texas because they were being charged, or they were being assessed tax on some compressors. We call it the compressor refund. So I'm sure you've seen some of those refunds come through here.
Yeah.
They're very big refunds that these oil and gas companies were due because they were wrongly being assessed for these leased compressors, so to speak. So I was worried that that was going to really hurt our collections. But thankfully, you know, things have, you know, we've had some other big payments come in. Last year, we collected $1,534,000 for the first 5 months. Right now, we're $1,554,000. So it's only a $20,000 increase from last year, but considering last year was a great year for us, and considering this already accounts for a lot of those large refunds, I'm very happy to say that we're actually still ahead of the game. And that doesn't include the $25,000, obviously, that we'll be depositing as soon as we get these other resales approved. So I'm very optimistic that by the time we finish this year, we'll actually exceed last year's great year. So everything's going well. And I'll tell you, Judge,
Okay, and on that amount, does that include the attorney's fees?
no.
Or is that just principal and interest?
This is just the light blue color on the bottom. Let's just say the right-hand side, the
Yeah, the base.
952,000, that's the base tax. It's original tax. And then the 602,000, that's penalty and interest, Judge.
Okay,
Now, this is real important because we work a little differently than we don't work for free. I don't think any lawyer does, but we work for free for the county. So if you take the 602,000, that's about a 45% return on your investment. So it kind of, when you have delinquent taxes, the county realizes a lot of interest on that.
yeah.
So you recover the 952,000, which is the original tax, and all that penalty and interest. When we recover that, 100% gets turned over to the county. We charge a 15% collection fee to those who pay late, and we only get paid when we actually collect it. So we turn over that money to the county, then we invoice the county, and then they reimburse us.
Okay,
But
but
our
this
15% is not in
doesn't
here.
include that.
This, 100% of this was, the 1.3 million
Mhm.
has been turned over to the county for the past 5 months, and the county keeps 100% of it. So our fee is not, so, and the reason that's important, Judge, is because you have an overwhelming majority of your taxpayers here, I'd say over 90% of them, that pay their taxes on time. So none of their hard-earned money ever goes to pay our fees, which is, in my opinion, the way it should be,
Yeah.
because our money should be used for other purposes. So only those who pay late pay our fees, and that's it. So that, and this is just an informational item, Judge. There's no action required on this one. It's just to let you know that things are going well, and hopefully we'll have a great year again, Judge.
Well, I don't recall at the moment, but I believe that I increased the amount in the budget that you all are supposed to collect, so I hope you.
Well,
you can
I'll
do
tell
that.
you what, my biggest concern was that big
Yeah.
compressor refund.
Yeah.
And it was a very sizable amount.
Yes, it was.
So the fact that we weathered that storm, we have these tax sales coming up this month, I think we're gonna be, hopefully I'm pretty confident we'll match what you set out for us, Judge. I'm glad you're pushing us, and to help with that effort, I think it leads me to the last thing I wanna mention. I've been handling, Starr County for the past couple of years, and Zapata as well as Hidalgo County. Just a couple of weeks ago, we brought on a new an attorney with us, and he's from Hidalgo County, but he's originally from Laredo, so he knows everything in between. This is, we resurrected him from the dead, Jimmy Gonzalez. So,
Good morning.
Jimmy Gonzalez he started the Public Defender's Office in Hidalgo County 13 years ago. And it was just himself back then, and I think when he left a few weeks ago, he had about 13 lawyers that he was supervising. So what I like about Jimmy is that he's been used to serving the same type of clients that we traditionally serve, with Linebarger. He worked for the county, helping, the counties, less fortunate, and, helping them with their legal representation. And that's kind of where we find ourselves too, Judge. So Jimmy will be here as well. I'll be here.
Okay.
And so now, instead of just having me, you'll have both of us out here.
Excellent.
So, again, just
Good morning.
so if
And I'll do my best to meet those expectations, Judge, and try to exceed them. Okay, that's my job. And I'll
Thank
do
you.
my best for everybody.
Appreciate that.
So things are going well, Judge, and hopefully with Jimmy's help, we'll get there.
Okay.
So, and
Well,
again,
thank
this
you all
is
very
just
much
informational.
for coming by.
Thank you, Judge. Good to see y'all.
Do we have to approve the report?
Yes, is there a motion to
I
approve?
move that we approve the report.
Moved and second to approve the report. Discussion? All in favor, please, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Items 15 through 19 are budget amendments. Sam, are they in order?
Second motion.
Moved and second to approve. Discussion? All in favor, please, aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 20 and 21 are budget corrections. Are they in order?
I move that we approve the correction, Your Honor.
Moved and second to approve. Discussion? All in favor, please, aye. Opposed? Motion carries. It is 10:30, and pursuant to section 551.074, we will move into executive session to discuss order of salaries and personnel policy manual. We'll be back shortly. It's 10:50, and we're back in open session. Under order of salaries, is there a motion?
I do so move.
Second, Your Honor.
Move is order salary discussing taking session.
Moved and second to approve order of salaries. Discussion? All in favor, please, aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And item on the personnel policy
Yes,
manual.
I do so move that the commissioners are allowed to go 160 hours come time, offices go to 80 only, max.
Second, Your Honor.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to allow the commissioner precincts, their employees to carry as much as 160 hours of comp time and overtime. And office personnel, or the remaining of the county, only 80 hours total.
That's my motion here.
Is there all in favor, please, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Moved in second, all in favor, please, aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.